Good evening. You are watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. The Israeli occupation continues its violent aerial and artillery bombardment in various parts of the Gaza Strip as the death toll rises to 24,762. Russian oil depot on fire after attempted Ukrainian drone attack as Kremlin says there is no prospect of reviving the Black Sea grain deal. And the total in-country value of institutions actually operating in the Sultanate of Oman in the third quarter of 2023 exceeds 8.8 billion Omani riyals. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. The Israeli occupation continues its violent aerial and artillery bombardment today in various parts of the Gaza Strip, targeting civilian homes and a number of facilities, especially in the areas of the city of Khan Yunis, south of the Strip. The occupation also continued to target health facilities, bombing the vicinity of the Al Amal Hospital, affiliated with the Red Crescent Society in Khan Yunis. The number of people killed in the Gaza Strip since the outbreak of war is more than three months ago has risen to 24,762, the local health authority said today. A further 62,108 people have been injured in the fighting. The army recently put the total number of Palestinian resistance fighters killed in the Gaza Strip since the start of the war at around 9,000. On the Israeli side, 194 soldiers have died, Israeli media said today. The Russian Ministry of Defense said that it destroyed a Ukrainian drone in the skies of Bryansk region bordering Ukraine. Alexander Bogomaz, the governor of the Russian Bryansk region, said that oil tanks caught fire in a storage facility in the town of Klintsy after the Russian army shot down a Ukrainian drone that was trying to attack targets in the region. Both Russia and Ukraine have targeted each other's energy infrastructure in strikes designed to disrupt supply lines and logistics and to demoralize their opponent as they try to get the edge in a nearly two-year war that shows no sign of ending. The Kremlin said there is no possibility of reviving the agreement to export grain through the Black Sea and that alternative methods of shipping Ukrainian grain involve great risks. The original agreement, which facilitated the safe export of grain from Ukraine via the Black Sea, expired last year after Moscow refused to renew it, saying its own interest had been ignored. North Korea announced it had tested an underwater nuclear weapon system under development in response to the recent joint naval exercises between South Korea, the United States, and Japan. The North Korean Central News Agency reported that the Korean forces conducted an important test of the Hale-523 missile in the East Sea, condemning the joint exercises and describing them as a military confrontation. South Korea, the United States, and Japan conducted joint naval exercises, including the participation of the U.S. nuclear-powered aircraft carrier USS Carl Vinson, following Pyongyang's latest launch of a hypersonic missile. At least 7 people were killed when a landslide hit a house in the southern Philippines yesterday, with the death toll expected to rise. The incident happened in the morning in a mountainous gold mining region of Davao de Oro province on Mindanao Island, where heavy rain has triggered flooding and landslides this week. Rescuers retrieved 7 bodies from the mud, including those of the children. Another 4 people were still missing. 3 people were pulled out alive, including one who was severely injured. Schools in the municipality were ordered to suspend classes today, with more heavy rain expected in the region. The U.S. space agency NASA said that the third private flight to the International Space Station was launched with 4 people on board. The space flight was launched from the Cape Canaveral Space Center in the U.S. state of Florida. NASA said that 4 astronauts will remain on the International Space Station for 2 weeks to conduct many experiments. Oil prices fell after rising in the last session following geopolitical tensions, disturbances in U.S. oil production due to the cold wave, concerns about slowing demand growth in China, and expectations of increased supply. Brent crude futures fell 33 cents to $78.87 per barrel. U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures also fell 7 cents to $74.01. Oman oil price March 2024 delivery reached $78.79 per barrel. Oman oil price rose by $1.14. The average price of Oman oil January 2024 delivery reached $83.17 per barrel, thus $6.62 lower than the price of December 2023 delivery. Still to come in our news bulletin. 5 endangered owl species were identified in the governorate of Al-Braymi. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. With the participation of the Sultanate of Oman, the work of the Davos World Economic Forum continues in Switzerland. The forum discusses in its sessions topics of economy, environment, development, and the impact of crisis on growth and local economies. Over 3,000 participants representing the private and public sectors have joined hand in hand to review matters affecting the global trade and the national economics. The delegation of the Sultanate of Oman is headed by His Excellency Dr. Saeed bin Mohammed Al-Saqri, Minister of Economy. His Excellency the Minister of Economy held bilateral meetings and joined a high-level discussion on economic security in the Middle East and North Africa region. The total in-country value of institutions actually operating in the Sultanate of Oman for the third quarter of last year amounted to more than 8 billion and 800 Omani riyals, according to statistics issued by the National Center for Statistics and Information. The contribution of actually operating institutions to the gross domestic product at current prices for the third quarter of last year amounted to about 81.4%, compared to 81.6% for the third quarter of 2022. The contribution of large-sized institutions to gross domestic product exceeded 6 billion Omani riyals, but decreased by 17.5%. On the other hand, the contribution of medium-sized institutions to GDP increased by 4% to 742 million Omani riyals. Likewise, the contribution of small enterprises to GDP grew exponentially by 23% to reach 904 million Omani riyals. Lastly, the GDP contribution of micro-sized enterprises reached 1,174 million Omani riyals, increasing by 38% approximately. The number of workforce in the private sector increased in the Sultanate of Oman by 8.5% to exceed 1,732,000 workers. The number of private establishments during the third quarter of last year increased by 10% to reach 232,000 private establishments. Specialists and experts from the Environment Authority exert efforts in protecting wildlife in the Sultanate of Oman. 5 endangered owl species were detected and registered in the Governorate of Al Baremi that is booming with unique wildlife species and migrating birds catch a breather in this governorate. The endangered owl species include Bobo ascalaphus, the short-eared owl, the barn owl, the little own, and the barred tree owl. The endangered owl species were monitored over 5 years in order to identify their natural habitats and their breeding and feeding characteristics. Among the 5 species, the short-eared owl was identified as the only migrating bird that travels during the winter season. The Environment Authority calls upon the community to help protect endangered wildlife animals and migrating birds by sharing the responsibility with the Environment Authority in raising public awareness in identifying and protecting endangered species. International manufacturers of medicines and medical devices, as well as leading pharmacies in the Sultanate of Oman, was the main highlight of the Pharmaceutical Congress, which concluded its sessions. More details in the following report.
International manufacturers of medicines and medical devices held along with Pharmacy Congress concluded. The exhibition held along with the International Pharmacy Congress that showcased the latest products in the pharmaceutical field and medical posters witnessed good attendance during the 3-day activities of the annual International Pharmacy Congress, on which many pharmacists and other healthcare professionals from inside and outside Oman registered their satisfaction.
The exhibition associated with the Pharmaceutical Congress here has introduced to us the most up-to-date medical equipment and products that were presented by experts in the medical and pharmaceutical industry, and it was a great addition to my profession.
The exhibition highlighted the international manufacturers of medicines and medical devices, as well as leading pharmacies in the Sultanate of Oman, in addition to the pharmaceutical industry sector, including posters that were displayed across the venue highlighting cutting-edge pharmaceutical and medical research.
It is good for us to participate in this international congress. We are pharmacy counselors. It's a fully Omani-owned SME, and our main interest is really to share our experiences. We have almost 40 years of pharmacy experience, and we do training and workshops for young Omanis and other healthcare providers. We also provide consultancy for drug companies or medical representatives.
It's worth mentioning that the Pharmaceutical Congress in its sessions discussed various topics and the latest trends in antimicrobial management, as well as combating non-communicable diseases in primary health care. On its final day, the Congress reviewed the experience of the Sultan Qaboos Comprehensive Cancer Care and Research Center on implementing automated pharmaceutical solutions, digital transformation in the pharmaceutical sector, and the challenges facing the healthcare sector, as well as digital pharmacy contribution in improving pharmaceutical care, were discussed.
I'm a freshly graduated pharmacist from University of Nizwa. Well, this is a great chance to be here along with all these experts and to gain knowledge from them, to have an idea about the experience they have and the challenges they have come over it.
The Congress concluded with several recommendations expanding the role of pharmacists in primary health care to prescribe medication for chronic diseases in the presence of skilled clinical pharmacists, establishing integrated multidisciplinary system to organize or to manage supply shortages, boosting GCC cooperation to strengthening drug safety programs, and continuation of digital transformation in the pharmaceutical sector in line with Oman Vision 2040.
As young pharmacists, attending such conferences facilitate exposure to new knowledge and innovative research, which will allow us to boost the application of evidence-based practices, and being present here with many pharmacists will assist us in fostering collaboration with our colleagues, thereby elevating the standard of patient care quality.
This annual event is a vital platform for the exchange of advanced knowledge and expertise, and it plays a pivotal role in enhancing the skills necessary to the growth of this dynamic field. Abdullah bin Ahmed Al-Rubi'i, Sultanate of Oman Television, Muscat.
This is the Sultanate of Oman Television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main headlines once again. The Israeli occupation continues its violent aerial and artillery bombardment in various parts of the Gaza Strip as the death toll rises to 24,762. Russian oil depot on fire after attempted Ukrainian drone attack as Kremlin says there is no prospect of reviving the Black Sea grain deal. And the total in-country value of institutions actually operating in the Sultanate of Oman in the third quarter of 2023 exceeds 8.8 billion Omani riyals. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, it's good night.